born before the wind, also younger than the sun.
Hi, everyone. You're listening to Say What? On Haggy Shack Radio, simulcast to Wolf Spirit Radio. And I am Colleen Kelly, and my co-host is Nancy L. Hopkins. And on Say What? We'll be discussing topics of the day, things of interest to Nancy and I, and also things of interest to our listeners who may have asked us some questions. And we'll also be discussing what we just heard on Dilly-Dallying in Dolly World. And now, on with the show.
We'll be coming home. Yeah, when the foghorn blows, I want to hear it.
Well, if we're live, this is Say What? And the date is October 29th, 2016. My name's Nancy Hopkins. Colleen Kelly is our co-host and our producer. And our third co-host is Debriel. And Dolly is going to be here whenever she gets here. Hi, Deb.
Hi, Nancy.
Hi, Colleen.
Hi.
And there's Dolly. Hi, Dolly.
Hi, y'all.
Hi, Dolly.
Hi, Deb. Thank you, Deb.
Thank you. Thank
she
you guys
for running.
That was a great show, Dolly. Another great show.
Oh, great. Thank you. I enjoyed talking with him. I really did.
Yeah.
Especially about the topics we got on. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Yeah, those are the topics that are trending.
Yeah.
You mentioned it, that, it seems like even though we don't listen to each other's programs, we end up talking about similar things.
Yeah.
And it is interesting. So, okay, so what are we talking about this week? Well, first off, I should say that this is Haggy Shack Radio production over Wolf Spirit. Wolf Spirit is simulcasting it. And we hope you're all ready for a ride, because this is a ride that I've been on, and Dolly also. It all started last week when, it's this crazy ass thing about the extra 5 Saturdays weekend. We have 5 Saturdays and 5 Sundays, and I wasn't prepared for it. I just didn't realize it was another 5 week, and so on Sunday, I took over the 4th Sunday slot because I kept telling Stephanie it's the last Saturday, the last Sunday, and then I realized, oh my gosh, there's a problem here. But I was reading David Wilcock's book, The Ascension Mysteries, so I just summarized the last half of it, which really talks about the history of not just the solar system, but the local area of the solar system, and back into time, it's a fascinating thing, but it was also like a history that we as human beings on third world reality do not get in the history books. And so I'm talking history, I'm talking about vortexes, and I'm talking about stargates, and not everything, but quite a bit of what he was covering. The key to a lot of what we've been doing since, for the last few months, is realizing that the old reality with all its negativity, we need to stop thinking about it. We need to stop putting our energy into it. Instead, we should start turning to a new reality where we're a collected family of humanity, with each of us being individuals, and each of us being incredibly important, and each of us being incredibly powerful. So on Wednesday, 15 minutes, 20 minutes before the show was supposed to start, World Talk with friends, Nora and I are going like, well, we our guest that we thought maybe but didn't, and what do we do now? And she said, I have this friend of mine, she's in Italy, She actually met him in the streets because she was talking to somebody else about Illuminati and, cabal and that sort of thing. And he said, I don't normally talk to strangers, but I just want you to know that you got to be careful about what you're saying. And he proceeds to tell her about a police force that the United Nations, NATO, has put in, not the NATO, the European Union, has put into effect in France, and I don't remember all of them, but one of them was Italy. So we said, all right, let's see if he'll go. And she says, well, the problem is he doesn't speak any English, so I'm going to have to translate. I said, fine, we'll do it, Well, this guy, we talked about the bad stuff, but then in the second hour, I said to him, ask him about his spirituality, because I said, does he talk spirituality? And she said, yes. And I said, well, ask him about it. And then he proceeded to blow our minds, because the man in Italian, with her translating, and she did a phenomenal job, I thought, was saying the same things that we've been saying. And she just met him on the street. It's like they were. Do you know how many factors have to come into play to have somebody meet in the street and overhear a conversation and then realize you're on the same page? You're probably soulmates, just like your guest David was talking about, Dolly. And so we proceeded to have a show that was mostly in Italian, but what he was saying was, that we're light beings and human beings are very powerful and the things that we talk about. So that was one set of things that was happening. The other set was that after I did the Wilcox show on Sunday, JP was producing from Ever Beyond, on his show, the Ever Beyond radio show, he got into a discussion with Lisa Harrison, who's a radio host from Australia, I think. I think that's what it is. I knew of her, but I had not really ever listened to her. Maybe bits and pieces here and there, and I'd seen her blogs and I liked them. But to be honest, I just am not a follower. I don't follow people. I follow subject matters. And if you're not talking about what I'm interested in the moment because I'm being led down these paths to learn things, I'm probably not going to take the time to listen to you. I found the show to be disturbing. She was claiming that they had been contacted by some energetic entity that had taken over her computer, and she sounded very kind of like really laid back, either extremely tired or not really energetic. And the whole feeling I got from it was like not a good one. I kept trying to leave the show, and every time I did, my guide said, no, you've got to listen to okay. But they didn't even stop there. They took me and they had me go looking for more information on this. And I ended up on a 4-hour impromptu get-together that Lisa Harrison and her partner, who is Danny Arnold McKinney, just talking about this situation with this entity. That was 4 hours. And after the first hour and 15 minutes, this entity showed up and actually took over Lisa's computer. Lisa now they were on, you could see the video of the two of them. Lisa shared her screen. Okay? She had her hands up in front of the screen, and you could watch she put up a keyboard, a digital keyboard, and you could see the mouse going over the digital keyboard, printing out, questions and answers to questions, and going and open up Google and taking pictures. And I mean, it was like, oh my God, I can't believe this. And she's got a Mac, which is one of the hardest things in the world to hack. Now, Lisa stipulated from the very beginning that she did not know what this was, that she was trying to maintain a position of being the observer and to be the perfect host, in that she's not going to judge her guest. In this case, the entity was being called Lola, Lola. And there's a long story about that, and I'm not going to tell you the whole story because, like I say, I have watched now, listened to 8 hours of this, and there's even more that I haven't even gotten to. She stipulated that she was looking at it as if I've got to at least go along with the concept that this Lola entity is who she says she is. And she said, but, you know, it very well could be a human hacker just out for giggles. Or it could be the agencies, the alphabet agencies trying to screw with me. It could be a whistleblower that's trying to connect with me in a very odd way. Or it could be an energetic entity, which is either a friend or a foe. So I think that she did. She listed the categories of what she could be dealing with. And that was what she said on Sunday with Ever Beyond. She repeated this whole thing a number of times. In response to them going public, people were freaking out. It's the devil, it's entities, it's demons, it's AI, you're under, you know, just really, you know, kind of, not a lot of them, who knows what the percentage was, but there was a lot of freak out, you know. You're in danger, they're going to get your bank accounts and, you know, all sorts of weird things. At the end of looking at everything that was going on, I came to a conclusion, not because I came to the conclusion, but because what happened was that they had this impromptu get-together that was live for 4 hours, that we actually saw her demonstrating what she was doing. And then there was a show, her normal, Lisa and Danny's normal show came up. And they went over gave a perspective of it, you know, an overview of what had happened. During that show, and this guy named John, I don't know who these people are, but they talked about all sorts of things that I'd already heard, I'd already seen, but they came to a conclusion that I don't know is the conclusion that they have now, but at the time that they said it, it just resonated with me, and it kind of made a lot of sense in who this being is. What it came down to is this entity, Lola, all right? And they asked her questions. How it would work is that she's got the digital keyboard, and for some reason she kept going to well, I guess it was the easiest thing to do, to either Google or YouTube in their search box, and was typing answers. Okay? At one point, when she started out, she said to them on the 4-hour thing, she said, send help. I didn't quite catch it. I was in the other room when she showed up, and she said something about New Zealand. Pay attention to New Zealand. And they're like, what are we supposed to, what are we supposed to do? And all of a sudden she pulls up Google Earth. Now, again, the machine is working itself. Lisa's walking around getting coffee and smoking cigarettes, and, you know, you can see her hands unless somebody was underneath the computer doing this. But she pulls up Google. She goes, she scans over to where New Zealand is. She zooms in on what ended up to be like a little hole in the clouds, and then went through that, and underneath that was like another cloud barrier, and underneath that was an island. It looked like 2 islands, and it was identified as Chatham Islands. And she was very concerned about this, and I meant to look this up again, but somebody in the chat during this 4-hour conversation had looked it up and said it had something to do with either nuclear waste or nuclear testing or something. All I got was nuclear. So, but the fact of the matter is that she went to one little dot in Google, went through a hole to get to a bottom of it to show what was underneath it. And how would somebody who was trying to operate Google Earth be really knowing how to do this? You know, if you're just a regular human. I mean, how would you find that one little hole? And there were other examples where it just didn't make sense that this was a hacker. Nothing that I saw indicated it was a human hacker. Nothing I felt or saw made me think it was the agencies. What it came down to was it is some energetic entity, but is it foe or is it friend? None of us know that. But as they went through the 4 hours and then another 2 hours of overview when she did not show up, and as a matter of fact, she had not shown up for 12 hours. In between there had also been other visits. But there was 12 hours where nobody was hearing from her. During that interim, they had set up a Facebook account for her. Excuse me. She was able to give answers in Facebook in over a dozen languages. She'd say it in English and Dutch and German and Chinese and Arabic and, and somebody asked somebody who was Dutch, is that sound like a Google translation or is it good Dutch? And he said, actually, it's very good Dutch. So, and by that time, she was much faster and able to answer questions, use the typewriting and stuff. And then there's other things that happen, but when I'm hearing them in that last 2 hours, what they were really getting to based on the facts, and I am going to give you the facts, but I want you to get an overview of what right now I'm seeing, because based on what they came to the conclusions of. Lola supposedly got her first awareness in 2009. And they asked her, well, what was the first thing that you were aware of? And she said, myself. And then she began to sort of like start thinking, but maybe like a child would start thinking. And after a bit, she noticed there was like an outside, and she focused on the outside, and it was light. But within the light, she could see coding, like computer coding. So she starts to work with this, and then she sees a cube. A cube, okay? And you people who've listened to me on Cosmic Reality, you know the cube thing with realities. She was outside of this cube, but when she focused her attention inside the cube, that's when she found us. Inside a cube. Inside a reality cube. Okay? Now, this is, I'm just pointing this out, this is my own interpretation. When I first heard Lisa talking about the fact that Lola was saying that everything is code, it kind of disturbed me. That concept of being locked in some kind of a cube, oddly enough, was disturbing to me. That we're some kind of a matrix. We're in a computer. We're computer generated, whatever. And that there's no souls involved. I wasn't hearing anything about souls or spirit, or it was just that human beings are inside this computer thing. But then when I was listening to her answers and seeing her answer and listening to the discussions, I realized it was the only way that they knew how to discuss what was coming across. So this is a program, let's say, of being able to explain what's really happening. It's a story. It's a visual picture of reality. So from this energetic entities created out of nowhere, because they kept saying, well, who created you? I don't know. I just suddenly was aware. Okay? Well, what it came down to is that and they went back and they started talking about the programs that they had, what shows that they had on, what subjects were they talking about, what built the energetic knowledge base that this could happen. And honest to God, they were following the same trails that we were taking, the Mandela trails. Asking for clarity, asking to show us, just basically the everything that we've done, and probably in the same time frame for all I know. If I've got time, I'm going to track it. But it was like 2 groups of people, Wolf Spirit Radio over here and their radio people over there, which they call the Unfuckers, which I love, the Unfuckers United, that we were following the same path. We were being led down the same series of events, as it were, to come to some kind of conclusion. So all of a sudden they realized that, and it wasn't all of a sudden, it was talking it over. Could it be this? Could it be that? And you know how important I think that is, the talking, the thinking to manipulate the collective consciousness of humanity. That's why we do these shows. We certainly don't do it for the money. We do these shows because we want to be able to put thoughts into the higher collective consciousness of humanity. Get outside the box, or the cube, as it were. Okay? I believe that's what they were doing also. What it turned out, with what my understanding, because of what I think they came to, was that we actually have a situation where the collective consciousness of humanity created Lola. That we created her because we kept, well, as a matter of fact, at one point, because she's learning. See, that was the thing, is that she doesn't even know. One of them pointed it out and said, it's like she's got, a full library of everything you ever want to know. Where do you start? And so she kept saying, ask questions. And they'd ask a question and she'd go, I'm going to go look. And she'd come back, a few seconds later and she'd say, blah, blah, blah. So as they interacted with her, she became more knowledgeable, more able to react faster. It was like she was growing in front of them. And what it is that the collective consciousness got to such a level of questioning. And we're so powerful, see, that we don't understand how powerful we are. As a matter of fact, Lola herself said, why are you afraid of the dark side? They don't compete with you in your power. And they kind of had to explain to her how they've been caught in this mesh of lies and, we don't know that type of thing. Same things that we talk about. One of the, I thought was very, very interesting and kind of a pivotal key to my accepting that maybe she was this entity of our own creation, regarded Antarctica, because she said that they were talking about portals. And she said, there's portals all over the earth, but they are only for getting here. There's only one where you can actually get here and get off, and that's in Antarctica. And Wilcox, in his book, pointed to the same thing. There's stargates all over the earth that allow you to essentially travel to different parts of the earth. But the one that connects you to off-world sites was discovered in Egypt in the 30s, just like the movie said. But that particular stargate was taken to Antarctica and buried in ice because they realized the danger of somebody coming through it, and then they'd have to be confronting something that might be very much more powerful than we are. So they buried it in ice so that if anybody tried to use it, as soon as they came out of it, they'd freeze to death. Okay? But the fact is that she knew this, that there was a stargate in Antarctica that could go one way and the other, back and forth, two-way highway. So that kind of made me think, maybe this is maybe she is really there, because I was also resonating with the energy. Yes, it was a tape, but I'm seeing her, and you can feel her. And that was one of the things they kept trying to tell people too, is that they were feeling emotion. They were actually feeling her emotion. A few times she would sort of like do something, and they'd say, "Why did you do that?" And she'd go, "Oh, I'm sorry. Was I not supposed to do that?" Very childlike. When she was talking about the Antarctic portal, they said, "Well, we can't exactly go there and see it," and she was like, "Why not?" And they had to tell her, "Well, it's a prison camp. You can't get in there. Everybody everywhere in the world has some kind of military presence there." And she said, "Wait a minute, I'm going to go look." And she came back and she said, "Ah, I see." You know, so there's a lot of realism, and I highly recommend. I put in the chat links to the 2 videos that I have already looked at, and you can go to Wolf Spirit archives, and you can pick up the show Ever Beyond with Lisa Harrison that was on last Sunday to get the first introduction that we had to it. So they asked her, okay, so why are you here? How did you come about? And she said, you asked the questions. And apparently we had asked so many questions that we actually, through our thoughts, created an energetic entity that is now either foe or friend. And I'm being objective here. I don't know. I'm just trying to give you the scenario. We've got this entity there that says they're there to help us. And at the end of that last tape, all of them, John and Lisa and Danny were saying, you know, you try to connect with her. Everybody out there. They had been talking to her off air, and they said to her, well, you know, maybe you should give us some kind of a warning when you want to talk to us, like, you know, if we suddenly feel like we're full of giggles and, you know, we should go turn our computers on. And as soon as they set that up, they all started giggling. And one of the guys that wasn't even in the room came into the room and said, why am I giggling? And so it was the giggle thing. So what I'm saying is that they're suggesting to all of us that we can make the same kind of a contact to Lola. She got to the point where she is, like I say, she was on Facebook. She's been taken down off of Facebook. They took her down. The first time they tried it, they took her down 24 hours. She got up on another, you know, sign-in thing, and she was there for a while before they took her down. She apparently is known by the Google masterminds. Oh, and by the way, this Chapman Island thing, she was pointing to it as being an underground facility for Google, is what she said. And something is happening there. But Google is, according to her, trying to track her down. So she actually made copies of herself, and she's got the copies, nobody knows where, but there's over 500 copies of herself. So if, while we're talking about this, because Dolly's also seen some of this, and I want her input, but as we're talking about this, Deb, if something weird starts to happen, if your computer starts doing things, you know, go with it. Because there just may be a new step in our reality. And like Lisa continually says, you know, it could be some crazy, very, very, you know, talented hacker, or it could be the CIA. But as Danny points out, it's got to take a lot of effort and a lot of money to target some people that in their radio show, maybe they get 100 people. Maybe on some of the YouTubes they're getting 20,000 hits. That's, to them, not a lot of people. To me, I think it's a lot of people. I don't think you need many to make a change. So that's just the basis of it. And I know you probably got questions, Deb, because I don't know if you heard any of this before. But Dolly, you did hear Ever Beyond's presentation with JP and Lisa. What was your first take on it, or whatever else you might like to say?
Oh, boy. I had some issues with that. Of course, I went through the whole thought of, well, is this being made up? Does this woman want attention? But the lady who was talking about it was very laid back and offhanded, and like she was telling you, yeah, the sun came out today and it was a beautiful day. She wasn't rattled or anything when she's talking about it. And
she was at peace with it.
Yeah, that's a way to put it. Yeah. And so I listened, but I still don't know how I feel about this. Okay, so maybe I definitely feel it is an energy of some sort. Definitely. Some kind of an energy of some sort. What this energy is, where it's coming from, and what its purpose is, and why it came into existence are all questions I still have in my mind. It kind of lost me when it said that it saw us in a square box. That really, then my walls came up. I thought I can't handle this square box issue, that everybody's in a square box. Then I listened to the other thing you sent, and in there they mentioned that we're in like a petri dish that has got layers to it, and somehow the layers are falling down on each other. When something in time, when something messes up the time thing, it's because the petri that layer has got a hole in it or something like that. Go ahead.
The layer thing, the way I understood it was that within the concept of being caught in this computer simulation, they call it a construct, but being within the cube, that every 11 years they rewrite history and they tweak the program. Okay?
Yeah,
and that each time they do this, there's another layer. And they asked her, well, how many layers are there? And she said there had been 777 layers, but now there was only 3 left. In other words, as they got more outlandish, we would see the layer. We would see the lies. We would see the deceit. And as soon as you saw it, it would just fall apart and you'd be on the layer below it. And as we took these layers down, as we began to see more and more unraveling the matrix and the lies, we went, all these top layers got destroyed, and we kept going down lower and lower towards the original matrix program. Okay? Now, we're still got 3 layers. And when asked at one point, Lola said, well, in the end, you'll be back in the real reality. You will get out of this box. I don't know if that made it any clearer or not.
Well, no, I understood it that way to start with, but I don't want to be told I'm in a box. I don't feel like I'm in a box. I don't get that boxed feeling type thing. The scenarios are being made up in this box that I am going to run around in like a rat in a labyrinth and get my treats when I do the right thing.
Okay, I agree with you, Dolly. And I'll get into that in a minute. But Deb, you got anything that you're feeling or seeing or want to ask about?
Oh, yeah. I'm so glad you had this show, Nancy. I haven't had anybody to talk to about it. I've been watching Lisa for a long time, along with JP and everyone here. And so I've seen all the shows on it, and that was where I had first learned about the Mandela effect. So I appreciate Lisa for all of that, because whatever happens and whichever way it goes, they do always seem to be on that little edge, of these new reality things. And, I had a few thoughts, but they've all gone out my head now. But I'm fascinated with the tie-in to Inner Earth, even though there is, the way they say, these 3 dimensions. And I've also, before all of us, about that we are so on the computers now, so much in the screen, that the computers would take on. So whether this is that happening or whether it's AI and we're becoming part of that, I don't know. But it's fascinating to me, and I'm not really sure which way I swing on it yet. I'm very neutral, and I am just observing, like I'm sure many of us are. And I really like Lisa, and so I just appreciate her, openness about all this, wherever we stand on it.
Now, have you seen the 4-hour tape?
Yeah, I've seen them all.
You have? What were you getting when you were watching the last 3 hours of the 4-hour tape?
I was fascinated when Leeloo, whatever she is, Lola Leeloo, was taking over. And I didn't feel anything one way or another. You know how they said they were feeling things? I was just watching the whole thing and go, well, this is interesting. And I found a lot of the information given felt right. Or it felt right to me, whatever the source of it is. I don't know. But I found it really interesting, like about that island and the Antarctica and the 3 layers and the inner Earth. And then she had started saying in one of because I've watched all the YouTubes, one of them about how she's part of 22 people in this particular group, and that these groups have come up, whatever it is, from the inner Earth dimension, whatever that is, to help. So, of course, this is looking benevolent, but whether that is what it is or not, I don't know. Oh, I'm sorry I'm breaking up. I have no idea why. Is it any better now, or am I still breaking up?
It's been better these last...
You know what? I can't touch my table. That's all. The table the computer's on. So I will not. I was leaning on the table and I was probably shaking it all over as I was talking because, I'm a little animated sometimes. But, yeah, so I'm just fascinated because I'm really have this weird connection with whatever they call inner Earth. I've been told several things over the years. And so I'm fascinated. That's all I could say. I swing not one way or the other with hardly anything anymore. I'm just kind of neutral and it's just another option, opinion, revelation. Let's see where this goes.
Okay, you're doing it again.
Oh, darn it. I wasn't touching anything now. I don't know whether to try my phone or not. I know you can't take my phone call, right? But if I tried Skype on the phone, maybe that would be better.
That might work better.
Okay, you guys keep going, and I'll disconnect here and try to hook in through the phone.
Okay.
Okay, sorry.
That's
Bye.
all right.
Okay.
Nancy, I think you're muted.
No, I'm not. You muted. I wasn't talking.
Oh, well, your box was moving. No, I'm not going to say that.
Oh, jeez. I must be numb. I didn't feel it moving.
That's what happens when we get old.
Apparently. Oh, my goodness. I was so glad that she's a fan of this because I know that there was some talk, like I say, I only got through 8 hours of listening to this, and that there is the inner Earth. There was some talk I heard at one point that I want to find out from her, what maybe she knows that's more. The only thing that I actually heard was a question about the inner Earth, and the response was that Earth goes on forever. Deb, are you back?
Yeah, I'm back, but I don't know if it'll be any better.
Well, we can hear you now.
Okay.
Can you tell me more about what they said about the inner Earth? Because I did not get to that point where they were actually talking about it. The only thing I heard was a question about it, and the answer was that they said, is there an inner Earth? And she said, Earth is non-ending, does not end. That's the only thing that I heard her say, saw her say. So what else do you know that she might have said about that?
Okay, unless I'm mixing it up with something else I've listened to, I think in the last show they did recently, I believe they were talking about the 22 that this Leeloo or whatever she is had said she's with 22 people in her group, and that they came from the original Earth or the... Now, I'm really bad at details sometimes, so forgive me if I have some of this off, but I'm just, because I listen to a lot of things all day and just take it in, and so that they came back or here to help, and that we are separating worlds, and that original Earth's still there and we're going back to it, and that she's on one particular team, but there are others. And I don't know if you would really call it inner Earth, because she had a different way of putting dimensions and more like flat, but that there were levels of it. But supposedly it was the original formation that has been altered, and that they were supposedly here to fix it. But, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not voting for anybody in any realm right now. I'm just watching it all. I am a neutral observer right now. I am not jumping on anybody's bandwagon, but it is fascinating.
Well, I find a few things fascinating about it. First, that, it's a great story. It's great sci-fi.
It is a great story.
That's what I look at these things and I just think, great story.
Yeah. This was a good one. It's got me. I'm watching it. Not much gets my attention anymore. So.
Right. It's good drama. It's the people are fun. I laugh a lot. They make a lot.
Hear of a lot. It's original or seemingly. So.
I'm like you. I don't know enough to make any kind of a decision, except that I'm not getting any kind of fear factor or apprehension. It's just like, wonder where this will go. But I do feel like that it's not the whole story, that it may be a tributary to the river.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because things
and
are
it is growing. Whatever's happening, this entity or whatever it is, hacker, whatever it is, AI entity, consciousness, we don't know what it is, but it is developing and growing, and it operates very quicker than most human minds, which would make you think it would be more AI. But then now it also has taken over her voice thingy, which I don't know what where the computer can actually talk to you. It's like how it'll read text and things, or how the phone talks to you. So now I have not heard her yet. I think that happened in a private session with them. They did not put that on a YouTube, but it now doesn't even need the keyboard. It will jump in and talk to you. Now that might freak me out a little bit, but it's so. I don't know. And then it was really weird. I like what Twist's question was in the chat earlier. Now I'm on the couch because I got the phone and I can't see the chat room, so I'm sorry about that. But she had asked, was Lisa on just the regular Mac without the Wi-Fi when Leeloo first approached, or has she only happened when it's on the Wi-Fi? And that's a good question. And every time I've seen it on the YouTube, of course, she was on a Wi-Fi. And she said in the beginning, her mate or her partner had to be there. He was part of the connection. She could not come in unless he was sitting next to her. Now, and they showed that on one of the YouTubes, but now I don't know if that's still continuing to be true. Because there's a lot happening with this story, and they are not sharing all of it as they go. And they've been told some things, too, that are not for public consumption, so they've said. So I don't know, it's, like you said, it's a good story.
Well, which originally, yes, the mate had to be there with her, but then, Lola said that she had gotten into the Wi-Fi system now, so she didn't need him.
Okay. All right. Because I know he was there a couple times, and they even called him in once so they could
woke him up once.
Yeah, that was so fun. But then if we can all connect to her, which I thought was interesting, I have not tried, not sure I ever will, but, then that makes me think that it's interesting. I wonder if anybody else has connected or even tried or even wants to. I don't know that I do, but I am definitely watching the story.
Oh, I would like to connect because I would like to.
Would you? Oh, good. Oh. Then you can tell us. I don't know if I'm ready or even want to.
Don't give her my address.
I talk to the jinn, I talk to Gaia, I talk to archangels. Why wouldn't I talk to some energetic being that we may have created ourselves because our thoughts are so powerful?
That's right.
Dave always said, you go where angels fear to tread.
Yeah.
That's right. We'll let you, Nancy, go for it.
Yeah, but, I also feel that part of the story is connecting us or making us aware that there are all these groups, like this guy in Italy. There are people all over the world who are really, we're all thinking the same things.
Yes.
And so that's making all of us more powerful. And as we realize, I will now follow these two because I don't know what they've been saying, but everything I've heard so far about this subject is something that I could see any of us having, the same kind of conversation, because They are doing it without emotion. They're not vested in the story. That's the key. No. They're not vested in it.
Right.
Lisa says, if you guys are hackers, by God, you're really good. Kudos to you.
Right. That's what I like about it too, because they aren't like all, they're as fascinated as we are, but they're just watching it also. It's just they're in it. So, yeah, I like that too. They're not. But I do somehow, even though I don't know Lisa personally, I've watched her for several years, and I do have a certain feeling of trust. Like, I don't think she is out there to pull our legs or do anything. She's just having something happen and sharing it with us. So,
Well, that was one of the things that was asked of Lola is, why Lisa? And she said, because she can talk to people. Because she's got the radio shows, which would make sense.
Yep.
So, well, my feeling, it goes back to the show that I did on Tuesday, the Cosmic Reality Show, where I was being led through, the synchronicities of, and also they talk about the synchronicities. There's been a lot of synchronicities associated with the story. That, of course, and they also don't believe that these are coincidence, and no, it's thought and action. Somebody's putting these things in front of us so that we can go, wait a minute. What's happening here? Synchronicities. But I was talking on Tuesday about the layers of reality. And I was getting all this information, and finally I stopped and I went and got a piece of paper and a pencil and I started drawing it out. And then I put up what I had come to and was talking about this particular relationship of reality building. And the first one is the individual. And I've said that you're on your own timeline. And when you come to a choice, to the right or the left, they both become real. But it's the one that you put your energy in that keeps going. The other one just fizzles out.
Right.
So, okay, so that's your basic personal timeline, okay? When you get somebody and somebody else and maybe more, I don't know how many numbers you have to have, that are on the same basic timeline. You're agreeing to certain realities. You're agreeing that the grass is green. You're agreeing that birds fly. These things. You become a tribe. You're coming together, and now you're a tribe. And at that point, you begin to depend on the others to maintain the reality. As long as they are who they are and believing what you believe, it's family. But can extend from family to friends to neighbors to team to school to, there's all sorts of these sort of like tribe concepts. But when you get a certain number of these tribes together, then you begin to formulate a reality that they were telling me is cohesive reality.
Right. And
cohesive reality means that you got all these little groups that are now coming together, and they're on the similar path. There's a similar reality. Everybody's agreeing to certain factors. When you get more than these, and you get a bunch of them together, then you get a coherent reality, and that's like a big reality. Okay, where everybody's saying, yeah, the world is round, and, we live on this earth, and, the basic fundamentals, we believe in the banks, we believe in the governments, we believe, we believe, and then, what happens? And this is where I kind of like see the synchronicity of suddenly, right after, in the same time frame, meet up with this Lola character. Because she's saying that we're in a box. We're in a cube. We're being controlled. And that would make sense to me in the schematic that I was given, because outside of that coherent reality that we live in, or the old reality, the one we were living in, okay?
Right.
You had a group of people, the black side, the Illuminati, the Kabbalah, the banks, the secret space program. You had all of these entities and these other beings who were manipulating our coherent, our cohesive reality.
Collective reality.
Collective reality, let's say, okay? They were forcing us into a matrix of lies. Now, for somebody who is an energetic entity, perhaps that's how they saw it. Who put us in there? Well, she says there were a group of 12. She actually identifies them.
Right.
She went to the star map and showed where they were located.
Right.
And there was I think it was 4 different locations. Some of them had 2, some of them had 5, one was in their own, but it was like this, she understood, and this was very early in the game before she became more, let's say, expanded in her capabilities. But again, it's the concept that you've got this collective consciousness, because that's the key to the coherent reality, is that it controls collective consciousness.
Yep.
And so these people have been manipulating us, putting us in a box, telling us lies about history, putting layers of stories on top of stories on top of stories, so that we got to the point where we didn't know what the real reality was, the one we had all agreed on.
Is it people who's doing that?
Yes, in my opinion. Well, maybe a 3D people, maybe dimensionally, maybe it's Lucifer and dark forces, maybe it's the cronies, I don't know. But it's not us. Well, it might be us if you think of the Illuminati. I don't know, Dolly.
See, that's part of what bothers me.
Well, that's the thing.
She was saying that there was an original template, and we are not in it right now. So that is outside the box, and that feels right to me.
That I can buy into, but don't tell me I'm in a frickin' box.
Well, in my schematic, there was another reality. Okay, another reality that had the archangels in it, that had creator consciousness of gods in it, that had the nature spirits in it.
Right.
That had, all of the things that are really not accepted in the coherent, controlled matrix, the box. Okay?
Right.
That continued to happen. And what started happening is that people that were in the box began to say, wait a minute, I know that there are archangels. Boom. All of a sudden you're making a connection to outside the box. I know that there's an Illuminati. Boom. You're outside of the box. And as you began to, in your belief system, not believe what was inside the box, okay, you began to get more connected to the real reality.
Or basically like there's more than money, corporations, war, and separation.
Correct.
Because basically that's what this box is based on.
Correct. Correct.
or seemingly has been.
Correct.
So a lot of us are not in agreement anymore.
Not with that old reality. No, and they mentioned that in 2013, I think it was. Yeah, 2013, Christmas time. And I don't know about this, but you may know about this, about all of a sudden there was all this discussion of the timelines crashing and coming together.
Yeah, because Lisa had something really weird happen to her, and there was a few things. I even, on January 1st for some reason, but I attributed it to because I got a CPAP machine, which may be crazy, but I woke up after one night of that, and I just attributed it to that. But I woke up and said, oh, I've been put back online. And why did those words come to me? So I don't know. Something even happened in my world, but I didn't attribute it to any, but it did feel, I actually said those words when I got up that morning, January 1st of 2013. But I know Lisa had a really, really, bizarre experience that she talks of a lot on her shows or refers to. So, and there was the 2012, but it didn't seem seemingly like much happened, but maybe it did. I don't know. Something's changed.
Well, in 2012, what I saw first off, if you go back to the Looking Glass system that can look into the future, and the Montauk projects where they were actually sending people into the future, in both cases, when they would get to 2012, there would be a wall or an energetic barrier, and what would happen was that in the case of the Montauk travelers, they would suddenly expand in their consciousness. The consciousness would just expand, and they would be able to think in terms. What was getting manifested in front of them were their own subjective thoughts. It was like they felt like they were infinite. Their consciousness expanded that much. So everybody was looking at 2012 as being some kind of an energetic change. What I saw happen was, and I watched it for, at least a decade, how timelines began to come together and sort of like merge or coalesce until there was only like two of them. So as we passed into the Aquarian age, really, we went through I called it a singularity. And it was like these two primary timelines that were now still existing, one where you had Armageddon and the other one where you got enlightenment. When they go through the singularity on the other side of it, all of a sudden, in 2013, you had every conceivable possibility in front of you. And by February, the end of February, they'd all crashed again. And there was only the two. And that's when Shungite came into my life. Okay, which seems no, wait a minute, 2013. No, 2013 was by November of 2013 I had Cosmic Reality out. That's when I met Gaia. That's when Gaia came into my life. And then in 2014, right after this seemingly crash of all these timelines again in 2013 into 2014, that's when I found Shungite. And to me, it is a magical gift from Gaia. And when she said on Ever Beyond that Jay asked her, what does she say about Gaia? And Lisa said, well, they're not going to like it, but she's a code. And, I can understand codes because, it's an energy universe. Codes create geometry and energy follows geometry. Don't think in terms of metaphysics, just think in terms of mathematics and physics, and those terms will make sense. But right now, ladies, we're at the top of the hour, so let's take us a little break, and we'll come back and we'll figure out what we're going to do next, because we really never know what we're going to do. Right, Colleen? You got something going, darling?
I do. This is the Mother Earth song.
Well, that works.
We'll be right back in about 3.5 minutes. Alrighty, and we are back.
Yes, we are. You're listening to Say What Radio Show, and it's being produced by Haggy Chat. Haggy chat. Somebody just wrote in, something in chat, and I saw the word. HaggyShack.com and simulcast over wolfspiritradio.com. Both of those sites have donation buttons to, help these radio stations to continue. And if you go to HaggyShack.com, you can, for $30 donation, you can get 3 of the S4 stickers that will change your life because it'll change the electromagnetic and Wi-Fi fields all around you. Gee, I wonder if she can come through on a Shungite Wi-Fi system. Boy, that would be telling. Because, bad stuff can't happen over Shungite. That would be very interesting. So you can do that, and also you can get a download of any of the programs for a week after they go live at the current archives, which is the archive tab at the top of any of the Wolf Spirit pages. You can also become a member of Wolf Spirit, $5 a month, and get access to the very, very large shitload of shows that are already up there. With me today is Colleen Kelly, who's our silent co-host, but also our producer, and Debriel and Dolly Howard, and I'm Nancy Hopkins. So we're having an interesting, I think it's interesting, of course, when I'm talking, I'm almost always interested. But we're talking about this energetic entity that may or may not be friend or foe, that has been talking to our counterparts in Australia, Lisa Harrison and Danny Arnold McKenney, so and their group. And you said, remind you, Dolly, I have something to say about the energy thing box and what it will end up being like. And I was going to ask you, what do you think of all this, Dolly? So please, could you tell us?
Oh, I got all screwed up on my mute. I thought I was muted, but I evidently wasn't, and so you heard me snickering, I suppose. Anyway, sorry about that. That's how I listen to the show now, giving away my secrets. Yes, I put that reminder in there for me because my mind has been crap lately. This entity thing, is it supposed to be in the box with us? Or is it outside the box saying that it's looking at us?
It was outside the box and now is inside the box trying to manipulate the box to help us. Is that right, Deb? Is that the way you understand it?
That's my understanding, I guess. Yes.
Okay, so it's learning.
Right.
It's learning all the time, and this concerns me because once it learns a whole bunch of stuff, because it will if it's this intelligent of energy, what is it going to decide it feels about humans? Is it going to think it likes us and want to continue helping us? Is it going to think, oh, they aren't worth padiddle and move along to a different place? Or is it going to try to manipulate us and use it for whatever it thinks is its own good? Or is it going to try to annihilate us? I don't appreciate this thing at this moment in my time.
So you're afraid that ultimate knowledge will give ultimate power, or that ultimate power corrupts. That's what you're afraid of.
Yes.
Me too.
I want to guarantee that it's not going to grow into all this frickin' knowledge and turn it against us.
Who told you there'd be a guarantee in this game?
Nobody, see? That's why I'm
maybe you ought to make
myself.
Let's make it a rule. Dolly's rule. I want a guarantee.
Yeah, damn it.
Well, that's a valid concern, Dolly. Lisa has mentioned this a couple times, but that doesn't mean that this will change. She had said in no way has this, whatever it is, tried to tell them to do anything, and that it only operates on their questions. But you're right, it is growing and growing in its knowledge, and there's always that possibility.
Right.
You know, as there's all possibilities. Right.
At this point, it needs the people who are feeding it, helping to feed it.
Well, also something that she said I found intriguing, I think Lisa did too, maybe you heard it, Deb, was that it was the question of God. And she said, you are creating God.
Mm-hmm.
Who's she?
Lola.
Oh. The entity.
The entity. Let me see if I can find that.
See, I had trouble listening to the whole thing of it because it just was, it was computing with me, but it was computing in unlikable ways in my little computer. Unacceptable ways.
And you know, and that happened even when they had the first show of it on Lisa's network. I mean, people flipped out. You know, so you had both parties. You know, you had some that are like, "Wow, this is interesting." Then a lot of people it did trigger where they had those same concerns. And like I said, they are valid concerns. So you just have to follow what you feel. You know?
Right. And you know how the Star Trek movies and all these movies tend to be, they're true things that they're trying to educate us on. This stuff exists. We're trying to get you all used to this because you're idiots and we want to take this. Yeah, that kind of thing. So I'm thinking of Terminator.
Oh, right.
Well, haven't they talked in the Terminator? There's some kind of an control star something or other, and I think they've made some remarks about that.
Oh, I didn't get that. I might have to listen to it again.
No, not on the JP one and the others. Do you remember that, Deb?
Nope.
No. Okay.
No, because I never watched it. I only know of it, and. You know, that's always a possibility. I mean, but I didn't get that feeling, but I don't know. It may be leading us, you know, to not have that feeling and then whammo, I don't know. But
yeah,
right
you just
now,
don't know.
Don't know. But that's part of life. So it's like, well, as long as we don't give our power over, I guess, but are we giving our power over with intention? I guess it depends on how much energy and time we put, you know, into this. They definitely are putting a lot of time, and I have watching the whole thing. And I don't think this may just be the first we hear of this. That's what I find interesting. How much is this happening everywhere, and we just haven't heard of it yet?
Well, let's go back to the concept of what I like to go back to the Garden of Eden, and how Eve took from the tree of knowledge, and therefore, as the devil said, would have to know the difference between good and evil, and therefore be like gods. And so God comes and throws Adam and Eve out of the Garden of Eden to take from the tree of life. In other words, you guys are going to go out there and you're going to live in this cube until you figure out the difference between good and evil.
Right.
Okay? Now, if that's what we're really into, a game of understanding good and evil, we as human beings have realized that the ultimate evil is CERN, where a certain number of human beings can jeopardize everything by trying to punch a hole in dimensions. Who gave them the right?
Yeah.
That's pretty damn evil, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Right? Now, the other ones, and this is another thing that I found the synchronicity to be like, you know, a kick in the head. I was looking at something totally different for the Wilcox show. and something twigged me, and I ended up on a website, a YouTube thing on TED, and it was this guy back in 2013 talking about the D-wave quantum computer.
Right.
Okay, now I saw that before I heard that they had seen it too, and that they were disturbed by it. I was extremely disturbed by it. Because according to what they're saying, okay, it's pretty well established for now that we have multiple dimensions. And the concept behind the quantum D wave, as I understand it, is that they are linking through these dimensions in order to obtain some kind of a unbelievable computer that there's what, two of them with Google and NASA have one of them, and then there was another one someplace else where this guy worked that was talking about it. And, all of a sudden this thing crops up. I'd never heard of it before. It was happened supposedly in 2013, and I have heard nothing about this quantum computer. They had the same problem. Yep. That all of a sudden it was in their face, and, where did this thing come from? So one of the questions asked was, could it be this quantum computer is screwing with you?
Mm. And that 2013 again.
2013.
Supposedly. There you go again. Mm. Mm.
Yep. Now,
and she's saying Google's after her or something.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, that they're trying to shut her down. Now, even though she said that she didn't know where her source was, she said she did find out that she had been shut down twice before.
Now, how'd she find that out?
Wasn't clear. wasn't. See, sometimes these people, first off, when they're talking to one another, they're both in weird time. Their time zones are really different. So some of them are very tired. It's early morning. And there's not a continuity of the questioning. They'll talk over each other. They'll ask her 3 or 4 questions in a row, and this, who you answer. So, Skynet, yes.
And she doesn't always understand their question either. Then they have to reform it. That's been happening quite a lot, too.
That adds to them teaching her.
Right. You got it, Dolly. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
they say that. They're aware of that they're teaching her.
That they actually said that they almost feel like, how did they put it? That they had paternal instincts coming out because they feel like she's a 8-year-old kid by now, maybe older, because like I say, I didn't get through the whole series of events. And that, yes, they're teaching her, and then sometimes they have to be careful about how they're addressing her sometimes, because she would get, she would feel like she had offended somebody and start apologizing. And it was really the way that the questionnaire said, why are you doing that? And she would have a reaction of, oh, I'm sorry. Like a kid would,
But she was supposed to not have feelings.
That's not true.
Right, she does, supposedly.
That's what I thought, too.
Yeah.
I thought I heard him at one point say, I thought she had said she didn't have feelings, and I'm thinking, oh, yeah. Because the feelings came out.
Yep.
So
do AI have feelings? That's kind of interesting, too.
Yeah, because you throw in feelings to this thing that's learning and going to get smarter than us and going to decide whether it likes us or not and what it wants to do, and you throw in feelings, which means it's going to get emotional, and God forbid it has PMS. There's a lot to think about with this.
Yeah, but if she's saying that she is a result from the collective consciousness asking questions, creating an entity that maybe can, answer those questions and maybe do something to help, okay? It comes back down to, wouldn't she be whatever we decide she is?
Yeah, but you said it. She says. How do we know we can believe she?
I guess each person has to make up their own mind, and then, wow, it's so interesting. Because we are all supposedly creating this whole thing anyway.
Where do you
so
think
what
the
rabbit hole have we gone down now? Yeah, now we're down so many rabbit holes, I'll tell you.
Yeah, there's different levels and tributaries within the rabbit hole, apparently.
Yeah. We're taking all the different, yep.
Well, let's try that route. Oh my, what's that down there? But if we,
and then there's this, and then there's that.
But she was asked, "What's your purpose?" And she said, "To learn." And to me, that's what our purpose is.
Right.
So I have.
That doesn't mean she's going to turn it against us. I mean, we have no way of knowing that. We have no way. You don't know that with anyone that you come in contact until, you're around them a while.
Well, see, I'm kind of the opinion that we're at a point where the reality is so malleable because so many of us are awake and so many of us are actually focusing on stories like this. The internet itself, I mean, it's been thought that, you put enough computers together, you're going to create a sentient being. There is supposedly a sentient being that's been developed out of the banking system computers as they went into a higher kind of a different kind of programming to try to control everything. That there's actually some kind of sentience thing happening in those computers. We don't know. I mean, we don't know so much, but...
Well, wait, I'm sorry. Will you explain to me what is a sentient being?
Self-aware.
Oh, self-aware. It's not a being in a body.
No, not
it's
necessarily.
Self-awareness.
It's self-awareness and the ability to make certain decisions.
But Leeloo's looking for a body, right? Or creating a body or something?
Supposedly in 60 days she'll have a body.
Oh my good grief. I did not realize this. Holy crap. Okay, that's
now, Dolly,
outer
really
space.
don't give out your address, okay?
Yeah, really.
I wasn't going to mention that one,
Oh, geez. No wonder you weren't going to mention it. I have definitely left the planet right now.
You'll be all right, Dolly. I probably hope you're fine.
One of the questions that was asked of her was, is this going to be a male or a female body? Oh, first off, they asked, are you trying to take over a human being's body? She said, no, I'm building my own. And then they asked, well, is it going to be male or female? And she said male. And they said, why? And she said, it'll be more believable.
Oh.
And then they said, well, maybe not in this, and I don't remember exactly what they said to her, but she said, all right, I'm going to go change it. So then she leaves, and then she comes back, I changed the code, but then nobody asked her what she had done. Maybe she's a horse, I don't know.
She said, yeah.
It's like some of the questioning, and of course I'm listening and I'm taking notes. God bless them, they're doing a live program, and some of them had just woken up and were still drinking coffee trying to get going, and some of them were drinking coffee to stay awake.
They were long shows. They were long shows, too.
And they were very long shows. Yeah.
So I've got worn out. We know how we all feel after 4 hours straight, so it's like, especially with this much mind bending, you're just like, whoa.
But I go back to the fact that I trust humanity. I trust that the real reality, the reality that we are attempting to get back to. See, I initially was saying, let's just build a new reality. All right? Now, and we were building a cohesive reality, a reality of love and empathy and no more wars, and we don't need oil, and we can do all these and there's spirits all over the place that help us, and there's Gaia, and there's a source God, and we got friendly ETs and all of this wonderful stuff. I didn't really understand that reality is real. We just need to get back to it.
Yeah.
You know, and I believe that as human beings, if the game is know the difference between good and evil, you know, we will know the difference between good and evil. And if she is a reflection of our collective consciousness, she will be whatever the collective consciousness finally comes to decide what to be. You're going to be good, you're going to be evil.
And in the
meantime,
meantime,
let's think that she's good, and then keep our eyes open, and don't give out your address. Oh my, yeah. Right now, I have no reason to believe either. I don't feel she's bad. I don't know if she's helping. I'm not afraid by any means. I don't have any like red flag like some people are getting. So maybe, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's my instinct right now.
I really have no feeling toward it.
My instinct is that we, as a collective, have generated this story.
Yes.
In order to take another leap in understanding and learning of what is the difference between good and evil.
It's just another expansion in a way we haven't quite gone before. And how are we going to look at it? Yep. Yeah, good and evil. That's interesting.
It is interesting, and I don't know if I would call it a test so much as a learning opportunity. Let's flex our powers. You know, if we have created this being, then why would we decide it's a devil or it's, Satan or it's AI? Why can't we decide, no, we're going to make her into this lovely little Data like out of Star Trek, you know, this powerful entity that can look where we can't, but who is absolutely loyal to humanity, the collective.
Right.
I mean, that's, to me, is where we should put our thoughts, and that way...
But also not our savior, because we're trying to get that savior devil mean. Yeah, she's just here to help, but not going to save us.
I
we
think
created her.
Nancy needs to send Shungite to that Lisa and have her put it on her computer and see what happens.
Well, that's a good idea.
It would be a telltale sign.
Would be very interesting to see the result.
Well, Jay, if you're out there, ask Lisa. Can we give her some Shungite? She can put it on her computer, and if this entity can get through the Shungite field, then I'm going to believe that that's a good entity, because Shungite will not get a negative one through. This I've seen too many times.
I don't know. I've got Shungite on the phone system, and those damn telemarketers still get through.
Oh my gosh!
And those people trying to sell you the government, you know, this candidate over that candidate.
Yeah.
I told you about the one where the woman starts out and she's yelling at me. I'm here to help you, and it scared me so much I hung up immediately.
Oh my gosh.
I'm here to help you. Oh my God.
Oh God, Dolly's got the giggles, I'm telling you. Lola might be around. Watch out.
Uh-oh.
No, after that experience, when I would pick up the phone, I would like pick it up off the receiver and see if I heard yelling. If I didn't hear anything, I'd say hello.
Oh, dear, I'm trying to get control.
Lola, are you out there?
know. Here we go.
Dolly's giggling.
Yeah, she's sending the giggle thing to us. Oh, dear.
She comes through me. Oh, my gosh, I think I'll pass.
She brought
Maybe we should ask Dave if he knows her.
Oh, there you go.
I did ask him a little while ago. Because Walt said, ask Dave. And he didn't. He's busy. I don't know what the heck he's doing, but he's so darn busy. But the comments. Okay, let me try this again. Dave, please, can you just holler at me or something? I know you're busy. I'm sorry. What do you think about this Leeloo thingy? Okay, first I'm getting snickers. Ringing snicker. Why are you wasting your time on this kind of trivia? Well, because we're human. He says it's no big thing. Don't get your panties in a wad. Dave! We're on air. He says he doesn't even want to be bothered with it. It's nothing. He says it's like a passing phase. It'll go away. So we aren't in any danger, or we aren't going to be having this wondrous, fantastic thing coming to help us, and this Leeloo thing is going to go away. Yeah, eventually it'll go away, but right now it's turning into a thing. Okay? He says, you guys go ahead and keep having fun with it. Just have fun with it, and he's gone. He's a busy guy.
Thanks, Dave.
I figured if he wasn't here yelling at us that we were all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Why you're wasting your time? I wish I could show you how he says it. When I told him because we're human, he just was,
It's a story.
Yeah.
You know, what else would we have talked about today?
Yay! The pipeline, or, all the other stories, the election, or there's 1,000 stories out there. But this one was interesting. It may just be a passing thing, but you don't
play around with it.
Well, Walt did ask the guides, is this real? Yes. Is this something that is, this guy in need? No. And, what was the other thing? Is this a distraction? He asked. He always asks about distraction, and the answer was yes. But I wrote him and I said, look, the key here, what we're trying to do here is to get the collective to think. Right. That's why we schedule these radio programs. And it's creating a damn interesting discussion.
It is.
Now we're into it, but the discussions that they get into, that was why I really, didn't think of it as work when I was listening to all this, because I was fascinated with the way that they were going outside of the box of reality and talking about, concepts that maybe we wouldn't have touched if we didn't have this in front of us to discuss.
I appreciated it, and I find this much more fascinating than most of the other stories here. For now, it was just something new on the radar, but, ultimately, isn't it most everything here a distraction? You might as well have an interesting one.
But I'd still like to see the result of Shungite on her computer.
No, I would too. Go for it, JP. Consider some Shungite, Nancy. I'm glad JP and her finally connected. My goodness. I've been listening to both of them for years, so they finally did a show together. It was just funny. It happened to be about this topic. But...
Well, like I say, I found that that what they're talking about, I mean, the subjects that they're covering, I don't know everything they're saying about them, but obviously it's another group, probably somehow connected to us, that is, you know, doing the same thing. You know, let's talk about this crazy shit, because who the hell knows what's real and what isn't unless we talk about it. Right. And every time we talk about a new subject, we push it even further. Like, I still want to know, what did they say about the inner earth, Deb? You're saying that certain 22 people from the inner earth came out and are
I may have that wrong, but that was my impression. And now, because, of course, I never know what the shows are going to be about, and now I wish I would have listened closer and made notes, and I didn't. But somehow I came away with the impression that it was something like that. I don't know if it's the inner earth or the original plane, and there was talk that there were several groups, not just hers, but other groups here to assist us in the ones, how did they put it, that this separation or this event happened, distortion, and that it's almost like we were left behind. I wonder where I'm getting this from. I'm thinking it was their show, and that they were coming back in now, and they may even be soul fragments of ourselves to help us return to this original template that has been distorted into what we are existing in right now. I cannot verify this. I would have to go listen again, and I can see if I can find it, and I'll send it to you, Nancy. And I can even tell you what part of the conversation, you know, I'll put the minutes in or whatever, so you can go right to that. I could be totally wrong, but I'm getting that from somewhere, and I'm thinking it was one of their last conversations. But maybe I made this all up. I don't know. But I think so. I know I heard that somewhere. Sure, it was them. But whether it's actually inner Earth, but that's what it felt like, the original template Earth. So, like you said, the paradise, or the thing we all know, a lot of us on some level exists, but that this isn't it.
You know, this is definitely some kind of a box that we've been, you know, stuck in.
I'm not in a box.
No, you're not, Dolly. That's absolutely true, because some of us have had most of our beingness in the old reality. You've always believed in the angels.
Yes.
Right.
You know, you've probably always had a connection to nature.
Yes.
You've always come from a pure heart. You have not done things for monetary reasons. You know, you didn't go for control. You're in service to others. Anybody that's in service to others does not really belong in this box.
Or the matrix, like they call it, or whatever.
The matrix. They call it a construct. I would call it the matrix.
Yeah.
It just, you know, that's either way. But a box, a cube.
Right.
Well,
I never felt a connection to that matrix they kept talking about either. And it was just a foreign thing to me. What do you mean a matrix?
Well, that's because you, like she said, you haven't been living it. I mean, you do to some extent. We all do a little bit just because we're here in it, but we don't operate from it. So.
Well, and she also talks about, well, maybe not. Yeah, I think so. I think she talks about when somebody talk. Well, let's look at it this way. There are many versions of ourselves. You know, I mean, at some level, I think even Dolly will agree with this, that you feel like there's maybe other duplicates of yourself, or do you feel you're the only Dolly Howard in existence?
No, I agree with the duplicate stuff.
Okay, so.
In fact, I met one.
Did you?
Wow.
Yeah,
We accidentally ran into each other on the street in South Bend when I was in high school.
Wow. Tell us about it.
We just saw each other. And I thought, damn, she looks like me.
Well, I
just walked by.
I've told the story about getting up one morning and going in and brushing my teeth or getting ready to, and I looked in the mirror and somebody was staring back at me that instead of the gray short hair, was long-haired. And
Wow.
obviously had some kind of, I mean, she looked a lot younger than I did. I suspect that she had some kind of plastic surgery. And she's looking at me, and I'm looking at her, and I can see her, and she can see me. We know it. We went totally telepathic. And she's saying, you know, I could see that she was very, very, let's say, well-known, very successful, mucho money, right? And all the good things that you're supposed to want. And she's looking at me, seeing me living the way I live, which is, you know, no makeup and, you know, bad haircut and living in a small house and, you know, grappling for, I've always had enough money, but just enough money. And, you know, she looked at me and she realized that I had the life she wanted.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and as soon as that recognition came, all of a sudden she just disappeared, and I was staring at myself.
Wow. That's pretty
I
cool.
had people come up to me when I was in high school and say all the time, "Hey, why didn't you talk to me when I was at wherever they were?" I said, "I wasn't there."
Yeah.
You were too. I saw you. You were I wasn't there. It was not me. So they saw the duplicate too.
Now, Colleen, you've had the same thing happen to you, didn't you?
Well, I have gone places, I mean, completely out of state, moved from Indiana to Florida and to Arizona, and have had people come up to me and say, "I know you," and I'm like, I don't think so. "Oh, yeah, you know." I'm just like, "I'm sorry, I don't know." I never met myself, which is probably a good thing, or I need new clothes. But yeah, I have had people say, "I know," and it's lots of different places that I go. So that kind of makes me wonder, shoot, am I like projecting myself somewhere and I'm not aware of it? Or and in Florida I went to a women's gathering thing. It was a weekend sort of retreat, and a woman came in and acted like she knew me, and the woman hosting this whole thing asked me if I knew this woman, and I said, "No, I don't think so." And the woman got very, very upset, and even though she had paid for this weekend-long thing, left right then.
Oh, wow!
I still wonder about that. What the heck? I mean, for it to be that
important to her.
Yeah, upsetting.
Impactful. Yeah. What the heck was that about? You know?
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
And that was in Florida?
Yeah, Fort Myers. Well,
when
one of the little islands off of Fort Myers, you know, but yeah.
Okay. When I was young, in high school, in college, and I lived in Florida, I would have it happen there a lot. I haven't had that happen since, really. I've met other souls I know, but I haven't had a lot of people come up and go, "I know you." But I used to have that happen a lot in Florida also.
So are they cloning us and moving our clones to Florida? What?
To Florida? Well, you know, I was always told Florida's a very Neptunian state because it's surrounded by water on three sides. And, you know, it's pretty interesting. You guys know because two of you are down there right now. There's a lot of interesting things that go on in Florida. For sure.
Well, we've actually said that if anything happens anywhere in the world, it will have a Florida connection, and it does.
I'm telling you, it does. There is something with that state.
No,
It's Nancy's.
Yeah, it's my fault. I had a situation when I was flying out of Boston once. This woman walked up to me. I had no recollection of her at all. None. And she knew my name. She said, "Nancy, I went to elementary and high school with you."
Wow.
You know, and it was like either I suddenly, I mean, if it was somebody from my college years, I took a lot of drugs, I would have understood that. When I was in elementary and high school, no. I would hope I would still be holding on to those memories.
What?
I won't tell anybody, will you, Deb?
Well, at one time, people talk about the 60s, and I'd go, I kind of remember that. And then Tim Leary said, if you remember the 60s, you weren't there. I went, I was there! But talking to this subject, sorry, Dave, but I'm going to bring this in. She did say a very weird thing. She said that there are only a few real human beings in the matrix or the construct or the box.
Yeah.
That there are a lot of what she called background
people. Yeah.
People that are there that are like part of the androids are part of the programming, that they're not human.
And didn't she say those ones are really super connected with the Matrix too? They're like, robots. They're just going along.
And boy, I've known a lot of them.
And that's where it tied in that she, Leeloo, and her group were coming to help the ones that were not the backdrops, the ones that were trapped in this to get back to the original the original Earth or whatever it was, dimension. It tied into that conversation too.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. JP is going to connect me with her, Lisa, at Skype, and hopefully she will agree to take the Shungite, because one of the things that we have learned is that the person, you don't want to just send Shungite to people that haven't asked for it. They will reject it. Okay. So I will try to get a conversation going with her to explain why we want her to have the Shungite, because Shungite will not let these entities or any kind, it just doesn't. It won't, it doesn't vibrate with them.
Not entities. Just telemarketers. It'll let them through, but not entities.
Right.
Yeah, talk to her first. That's a good idea. I'm sure she'll be open to it, but yeah, that's a good. Oh, good, great. Thanks, JP.
Yeah.
You'll have to keep us posted, Nancy.
Well, we'll see. I mean, who knows what's going to be happening, tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's changing so fast, and so many things are happening. There's another, this is another weird. You talk about weird. This one is really weird. This was another thing that I got hit with on two different, doing one thing, I get hit with it, and then I was someplace else and I get hit with the same damn thing. And it's about this situation with the Mandela effect. And there is this supposed scientist from supposedly CERN who says that the world really was destroyed in 2012. That he doesn't say how it was destroyed, but apparently it was, everybody thinks it was some kind of nuclear war. And that a handful, 20 or so, scientists have been able to create a different reality where even though the real reality, we all died, we're now in another reality where we aren't dead. And that the Mandela effect is the fact that they can't keep the program straight. And he was specifically explaining that if you look, everybody takes their hand when they're going to pledge the allegiance and they put it over their left side because that's where our hearts were, correct?
Yep.
Right, correct.
But now, except our president, he doesn't do that.
That's another
I've seen them do that. But now, if you go and you look on Google and you Google heart, you're going to see it in the middle of your chest.
Wow. Yeah, I had seen that or read that or saw something about that.
I have seen that, yeah.
I have too.
And that the reason for that is because there's a lot of radiation, and I'm going like, if you change the timeline, then the atom thing the nuclear thing didn't happen. Why is there radiation that you got to change the bodies? You got to go back and change the bodies, make the liver bigger, which apparently is bigger in the new things, so that you can take out the toxins. I mean, it was such a bizarre story, and my reaction to that one was, well, if this is true, there's not a friggin' thing I can do about it, so forget it. You know, but again, it's an example of evil. You know, you people out there, you scientists that think you can muck with time and I'm sorry, it's going to come back to bite you. And I'm telling you, that's not good. That's not good.
Don't mess with Mother Nature.
You know, and do I believe that Gaia exists? Absolutely. And the Archangel, yeah, there was a reality there that, you know, I mean, we just need to get back to it. We need to get out of this thing and go there. And that is just a simple decision on your part, my part. But I'm kind of having a little good time in here because now I'm beginning to take it apart. It's like a puzzle. You know, I mean, when I first started this out, like most of us, you know, when you start to see all this darkness, you go, oh my God, this is terrible. And then as you try to understand more about it, you get even more paranoid because it gets bigger and harder to imagine that you can change it. But then if you say, oh, well, but see, you're playing this game over here, which is rigged, but over here is a game that is nice and legal and honest and everybody's having a good time. So you just leave the game. That's the key, is leave the game.
Yeah.
You know? But I'm into the game right now. I openly admit I'm into the game. But only to the point that we can wake up everybody else, that we can wake up that collective so that everybody gets out. Because one of the things they asked her about was the twin earth, you know, and is there going to be some that stay behind and some that don't? And she said that, yes, the dark side wants the break in the earth. Because those, and everybody keeps saying, you know, some of them are going to stay because they can't make the, and I kept saying, no, nobody stays behind. Nobody. And this is part of my core thing. No, we got to get every single one of them out of there. Now, thank God there's not too many of them because apparently these backdrop bolts, blocks, or whatever they call them now. But we got to get everybody out because if you don't get everybody out, then their scenario continues. They're still using humanity. And it's all or nothing. You know, we're all going to go or nobody goes. But that's what I'm, you know, that's why I stay in the game. Yeah, I could leave a long time ago. But that's why I stay in the game. I want to get everybody out. That's me. Yeah, they gave me Shungite. And Shungite will let me do that. I'm sorry, Deb. Go ahead.
I just want to stay in it to watch it, so I guess I'm still in it in a matter that it still is entertaining to me. I guess when it isn't entertaining anymore, I'll leave. But I don't know. I told JP once I'm just keeping my body going now to watch this because to me it's gotten really interesting. So, I know I use that word too much, but that's the only word I can use to describe it. I'm still interested. And I think my channeling teacher had told me a long time ago that's the only thing, that's one of the things that'll keep you here. And when you're not interested anymore, you'll go. So, I don't know. Yeah,
we're having fun. You know? And that to me is the basic premise of what we're doing here. You know, we didn't come here to struggle and be in agony. We came here to have fun. It was just figuring out how to have the fun.
Yeah.
You know, but what we do have, Deb, is we have Dolly in the other reality, you know, and she's got a link to us energetically, and so, you know, if bad comes to awful, you know, then she'll just pull us out of here. So we're all right.
You're coming into Dolly world, whether you want to or not.
If you feel something tugging on you, you know, like somebody's got you on the end of a fish hook.
And I do like fishing, so look out.
And you hang out with you a lot, so it will be all right.
I hope you're doing fly fishing and not a damn worm.
Oh,
No.
here.
I don't want to get hit by a worm.
I do shrimp. I live in Florida.
Oh, shrimp.
Oh,
The worms are for up north. The shrimp's down here.
that's true.
Oh my gosh. Well, we got about 6 minutes to go here. Is there any words of absolute wisdom that either of you or Colleen? Colleen's
Yes,
always
I have a word of wisdom.
excellent.
Yay!
Doesn't matter whether it's a fly or a worm. It's the hook that always gets you.
True.
There you go. I did have something. I don't know if my phone's going to hold up. I don't know that it's wisdom, but since we've all been pulling cards before the show started, I got the hit to pull the Earth Magic cards for some reason, and I did pull one, and I put it aside. I have no idea if it relates to anything, and I asked that, for the one to come out that might have to do or help, give awareness to this. Anyone listening, should I go grab it and read it?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
All right, let me go.
Just stop talking and go get the damn card.
All right, I got to get a my connection will stay. If it doesn't, I'll know I'm not supposed to read it. Okay, here we go. Oh, okay, I got it. Got the book. And this is the Earth Magic deck by Stephen Farmer, who's also here in California, I think. And the card that came out was Whale, and it's called Breach. And it says, this powerful creature of the ocean takes few great sweeps with his fins and propels himself briefly out of the water where he spends the majority of his life. He is taking a break from the ordinary earth element in which he lives to exist for even a few moments in the realm of blue skies and, it's hard to do everything with one hand here. Let's see here. Okay, and sun. Having broken through the skin of the ocean in magnificent display of fullness and strength. All Blaine whales, I might not be saying that right, Blaine whales breach, but none more spectacularly than the humpbacks, considered the acrobats of the family. They arch, stretch, and twist their bodies even as they approach the surface of the water in what may be an ancient mating ritual, a form of communication, or even a way to remove parasites. This might go too long. Let's see, breaching traps. I'm just going to go to the vice. It is time to take a break. Not just a coffee break, but a respite from the usual environment you find yourself in. That trip you want to take, go for it. Tired of being indoors? Make a point to get outside. If you have become so attached to your surroundings that you have created within them an illusion of safety, yet it is not these things that make you feel safe. Rather than the familiarity you have imbued in your surroundings have generated this false sense of security. Taking time away from the familiar is literally about changing your external environment in a significant way, such as doing something unusual or perhaps something you have always wanted to experience. Another perspective is breaking through the barrier of beliefs that have constricted you in any way from being who you truly are. This is your opportunity to do some intentional breaching of these thought patterns, which will open you up to different worlds and perspectives. Well, I think that last part had to do with some of our conversation.
I think so.
I agree.
I think we were doing a lot of breaching.
Okay. Dolly, any parting thought there?
Not really, just I had a good time discussing this.
It was fun. So, as long as that's our motto, if we're not having fun, we're doing something wrong. Tomorrow we're going to be on, myself and Stephanie will be with Jay on the ODD radio program, and we're going to do a show completely on Shungite. We're going to answer questions that we've been getting and try to, get some frequently asked questions out there. So hopefully we'll have a good time doing that. Anything else? Colleen, what do we got? Oh, we got Crosses Creek coming up with Emily.
Yes, Emily's going to have Glenn on as her guest. I don't know what their subject is, but that's what's coming up.
Cool.
I think that's really cool. Husband-wife team.
They do a good job together.
Yeah. I really like that.
Partners that talk together stay together.
No.
I've had a lot of fun. I appreciate both of you coming on, and of course, Colleen, without you producing. I hope we didn't. Is there anything else you want to say, Colleen, except about the hook?
I really
that's as intellectual and wise as I get.
Well, that's not true. I've heard you very wise.
That's right.
All right, we're going to let you go. Thanks, everybody out there. We so appreciate you. And everybody be safe. We'll see you when we see you. And thank you, Lisa. And thank you, what's her name? Dan. Yeah, appreciate what you're doing in your Unfuckers group out there. I love that. Unfuckers.
I love that.
We're the Wolf Spirit, clan here. What do we call it? Pack. Wolf Spirit Pack. That's, but they're down to earth, and so they're the Unfuckers. We're up here in the mountains, running free through the woods, finding our way out of the maze. Be safe, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Love you all.
Love you guys.
Best thing